दोस्तों स्वागत है आप सभी का हमारे YouTube चैनल मैथमेटिकल पाठशाला में। लास्ट लेक्चर में मैंने आपको गैल्वा एक्सटेंशन से कुछ ओवरव्यू दिया था और कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट एग्जांपल्स हम लोगों ने देखे थे। अभी तक मैंने आपको जितना गैल्वा थ्योरी से पढ़ा है, अगर आप नेट और गेट के क्वेश्चन लगाओगे वो सारे आपके ईजिली लग जाएंगे। ज़्यादा में ज़्यादा एक क्वेश्चन छूट सकता है जो आपका स्प्लिटिंग फील्ड है फाइनाइट फील्ड का, दैट वी हैव नॉट डिस्कस्ड टिल नाउ। सो आफ्टर 1 or 2 lecture we will be discussing the splitting field of some finite field. Basically we will be discussing for FP, the field with p elements. Then I will give you the introduction, what are the basic properties of finite fields. Then your field theory will be completed with respect to the entrances. In this lecture we will give you some important aspect of Galois theory. Suppose I want to ask you this question: ought of R by Q, or my question is whether R over Q is a Galois extension or not, because this is an extension, the R over Q is an extension. So what can you say about the Galois extension, or what can you say about this group automorphism of R fixing Q? Can you give me any non-trivial element of this, that means any non-trivial automorphism from R to R which is fixing Q but not the identity map? Can you give me? Okay, let's see. If I choose any arbitrary element of this, then what will be the possible properties? Let tau be any arbitrary element of ought of R Q. So this tau is a map which is identity on Q. This is the first basic property. Tau from this Q to Q is not a new map, this is an identity map. So this tau is continuous on Q. But we do not know whether this tau is a continuous or not, because tau restricted to Q is identity. Now let A be any element, say let A belongs to R and A is square. A is square, that means A is equal to B square for some B belongs to R. So I am choosing only the square element of the R. So suppose A be any arbitrary element which is square, so there must exist some B such that A is equal to B square. Now you operate tau of A, it will be tau of B square. Since tau is an automorphism on R, so it will respect multiplicativity. It will give me tau of B whole square. That means if A is a square, its image is square. That means the second property is every element of this sends square to square. So second property is, this is first property, second is tau sends squares to squares. Now by using this property you can easily show that every positive element goes to positive element. Let's see how. The third property is tau sends positive reals to positive reals. We know that tau sends squares to square. Now if I choose any arbitrary positive element, and you will feel why it does not hold for negative element. Let A be any positive real number. If it is a positive real number, we know that every positive real number is a square in R. For negative you cannot say, but for positive you will always have a square. See how? You can say this x square minus a polynomial, this always has a real solution, and if a is positive, then the solution of this equation will be a square of a, or dot square of a, the plus minus square root of a will be the solution of this, and solution of this will work like that will be the square element, like the square element for a. So this you can easily verify. This has a solution on real line. You can use IVP and you can use basic idea, because if a is positive, then plus minus square root of a is a solution. So it will have a positive square root, it will have a negative square root. So I am choosing the positive one. So if a is positive, this implies there must exist some b in real line such that a is b square. So that always exist. Now again, if you take tau of A, it will be tau of B whole square. Since tau is an automorphism from R to R, so this is a mapping from R to R. So tau of B is a member of R. If you square any non-zero number, you will get a positive quantity. Since this B cannot be 0 because A is positive, so this B cannot be 0, and this tau B cannot be 0 because tau is an automorphism. So 0 element goes to 0 element and no other element goes to 0 because this tau is a 1-1 mapping. So positive reals goes to positive reals. This is another property. Next property, tau is strictly increasing map. Every automorphism from R to R is a strictly increasing map. Let A is bigger than B, or you can assume B is bigger than A. This will imply A minus B is strictly positive. Now we know that tau sends positive reals to positive reals, so A minus B is a positive real number. So this will imply tau of A minus B is positive, but tau is an automorphism, so tau respect additivity. So you will have tau A minus tau B is positive. This implies tau A bigger than tau B. That means every automorphism from R to R is an strictly increasing map. Now can you say this? Next property I write, tau is continuous. Actually this will finish every argument. If I show that tau is continuous, then we know that as Q is a dense subset of R, and if tau is identity on Q, then its extension on R will be identity. This we have already proven in real analysis part. So I am not going to prove further, but I will give you hint for you to prove. How can you prove this? Every continuous map from Q to Q, if you extend this map from Q to R, you will get identity, and you have to use identity theorem. So I prove that this tau is a continuous map. See, let n be any natural number. For continuity, what I need to show that? I will show fx minus fa less than epsilon whenever x minus a is less than delta. So for a given epsilon positive, I need to find that delta. For a given epsilon positive, I need to find delta, which satisfies this property. This will finish our argument, that is tau is a continuous map. So you choose any two elements, say x and a. So suppose epsilon is given. Let epsilon positive be given. Then by Archimedean property, this implies there always exists a natural number, say small n, such that, okay, let's remove this. Then by Archimedean property, there always exists a natural number n such that 1 by n is less than epsilon, or you can say okay, this 1 by n is less than epsilon. So if it happens, choose delta to be less than n, less than 1 upon n. I'm saying you to choose this delta. Then what will happen? X minus a is less than delta, and delta is less than 1 upon n. But if you open this quantity, you will have minus 1 upon n less than x minus a less than 1 upon n. You will have this property. Now operate tau on this inequality, because we know that tau is an increasing map, so it will not revert the inequality, it will respect the inequality. So I will have 1 upon n less than tau x minus a, which is actually tau x minus tau a, because tau respects additivity and tau fixes rationals. This minus 1 upon n is a rational number. So this will be 1 upon n. So you observe this is nothing but this is tau x minus tau a mod is less than 1 upon n. Or without loss of generality, you can choose this to be this. Okay, I have chosen this one. Okay, no problem. You can choose this. And this delta I can always choose, because this delta and epsilon both are in my hand. So this I can choose. If you give me any real number, any positive real number, I can always find some natural number which satisfy this property. Or if you give me natural number, I can choose such delta. So with respect to this natural number, I am finding this delta. My work is to give you the delta. So I have given you the delta. So with respect with this delta, this map is a continuous map. Now once it is continuous, then my work is done. Every continuous map from Q to Q, if it is identity, if you extend this to R, you will get identity. Okay, let me give you a hint to prove that this map is actually identity on R. The proof I have already covered in a real analysis part, but let me give you another approach. You want to prove this is continuous, and next claim is tau is actually identity on R. So you want to prove your tau x is equal to x for all x belongs to R. And if you prove this part, for any epsilon positive, the distance between tau x and x is less than epsilon. If you prove this, then you are done. And you know that this tau is identity on Q. So you write this as tau x some rational plus some rational minus x less than epsilon. Since this x be any real number, you can always find some rational such that the distance between this x and that rational is as small as you want. That you can always do. So that is in your hand, because this comes from the denseness of rationals. Rationals are dense, so you can choose such rational number. So that rational number I am choosing to be Q. This is less than or equal to tau x minus this, I can write tau q. Why? Because q is a rational and tau fixes rational. So q and tau of q both are same. This is q minus x. See, since your map is continuous, so tau x minus tau q, this will be arbitrary close to any epsilon you choose. So you can choose this to be less than by epsilon by 2. That is in your hand completely, because you have chosen your q and x in such a manner this distance is as small as you want. So suppose you want this distance to be epsilon by 2. So you can work with this. So this is less than epsilon. That means the distance between tau x and x is as small as we please or as small as we want. That means this tau is an identity map. So I have used only one thing, that rationals are dense in Q. I have not used here identity map. I have just used rationals are dense in real numbers. So you give me any real number x, I can always find some rational such that the distance between these two numbers as small as I need. So that I can work. So this is another approach. You can use real analysis approach also, that I have already given by using identity theorem. So this tau is identity. That means this group is of order 1. So that may be the new problem for you. This you may get in your examination. अभी तक किसी एग्जाम में नहीं पूछा गया है. Chances है कि आपको एग्जाम में as it is मिल सकता है. So this group is actually isomorphic to trivial group identity, and this identity is nothing but the identity map from R to R. And it cannot be Galois, because if you see, this R by Q is not a finite extension. This is not finite dimensional vector space. So order of this group is not equal to the degree of extension of R over Q. This R is infinitely generated over Q. You cannot finitely generate your R over Q. That we have seen in linear algebra part. So now I am skipping 2 or 3 big proofs or big theorems which are not related to your course, because that is a totally dependent on representation theory. But that that theory is required to prove fundamental theorem of Galois extension. So I am just writing the statement and I am skipping the proof. ये प्रूफ आपके काम के नहीं है, ये सिर्फ गैल्वा थ्योरम को प्रूफ करने के काम आते हैं. So this is fundamental theorem of Galois extension, and I'll ask you one thing. Just keep a picture of this Galois extension for a polynomial x3 minus 2 in your mind. If you are able to keep this the Galois group of this polynomial in your mind, then every statement will be crystal clear to you. Whenever required, I will be writing completely. So this says, let K over F be a Galois extension and you say G to be a Galois group of K over F. Then there is a bijection between the subfields of K containing F and subgroups of G. So it says, if K over F be a Galois extension, then there is a bijection between the subfields of K containing F and subgroups of H. Subgroups H of G. So if you give me any subgroup of G, I can give you a subfield of K containing F. If you give me any subfield in between K and F, I can always find a subgroup H. So this is the Galois theorem. How you can keep this in your mind? Suppose K is a Galois extension of F. So if you give me any field in between E, then I can always give you a subgroup H, which is like this. This I is the identity and element of your group G. How I am writing in a reverse order, because identity fixes every element of your extension. So K will correspond to identity. अगर आपका सब ग्रुप बिगर होगा, आपकी सब फील्ड छोटी होगी. अगर आपकी सब फील्ड बिगर है तो सब ग्रुप छोटा होगा. That we have already seen. So here you can think the mapping like this. E is the subfield of H, or you can write this map. So the mapping is given by, suppose you want to find mapping from here to here, so you write the element of K which are fixed by some by a subgroup, then it will give you always a unique subgroup. And from here to here, take any subgroup and find its fixed field. So this will be a bijection. So that is how you can keep this into your mind. Now, when this is the situation, then this theorem does not end here. It gives you more applications. The first application, if E1 comma E2 be corresponding fixed fields of H1 and H2 respectively, suppose we have two subfields of K, E1 and E2 in between F and K, and E1 correspond to a subgroup H1, E2 correspond to a subgroup H2, then E1 is a subfield of E2 if and only if H2 is contained in H1. If your subgroup is bigger, its subfield will be smaller. So this is if and only if condition. The some particular examples we have already seen. Here, if you remember, I have given you this criteria. Suppose your field was Q adjoint 2 power 1 by 3 and omega, the third primitive root of unity. And here we have a field Q 2 power 1 by 3. Okay, I think it was Q omega. Here omega is the third primitive root of unity. And here was our base field. And here we have 3 subfields. The difference was this is a 3-degree extension. This from here to this 2-degree extension. And here I asked you to fill these gaps. So if you have filled these gaps, this is 3-degree extension, this is 3-degree extension, this is 3-degree extension. And none of these was Galois over Q. But this Q omega is Galois over Q, because you can always find a polynomial for which this Q omega works as a splitting field. That polynomial you can choose to be say 1 plus x square. For that polynomial, this is the splitting field. So if I draw the corresponding subgroup graph, suppose this is the identity. Here you have subgroup generated by say identity comma some sigma 1, where sigma 1 is 2 order element. Here I had sigma comma I comma sigma 3. Here I have I comma sigma 5. This sigma 1, sigma 3, sigma 5, these are 2 order elements, because this group was isomorphic to S3. So you keep this structure in your mind. And we have this subgroup I sigma 1, say sigma 2 and sigma 4, and here you have complete group S3. So this is your diagram. So if you see, for this is a 2-degree extension and its subgroup has order 3. So your subgroup is bigger. The subgroup correspondingly, this is the subgroup, and this is a normal subgroup. So this is a bigger subgroup, but it is giving you a smaller field. And here you have a small subgroup. This is a 2-order subgroup, and your corresponding field is a 3-order field. If you find the field will be like Q adjoint 2 power 1 by 3. One of the field will be this Q 2 power 1 by 3. Another field will be say Q omega times 2 power 1 by 3. And there are 2 more fields that I asked you to fill this gap. So if your subgroup is bigger, then your correspondingly subfield is smaller. And here you see this subgroup and this subgroup do not have any containment relation. Neither of this is contained in this, and this is not contained in any of the 2-order group. So there is no relation between their subfields. Their subfields are Q omega, Q adjoint 2 power 1 by 3, Q adjoint omega 2 power 1 by 3. No containment is there. So that is I am writing this statement. So you keep this structure in your mind always. So this is the first statement. The second statement, K is always Galois over E with cardinality of this Galois group K over E is equal to the cardinality of H. So this gives you the relation between the order of your subgroup and order of your Galois group. See, here I am saying this is your K, this is your subfields. So this extension is Galois, this extension is Galois, this extension is Galois, this extension is Galois. So K forms Galois extension over every subfield of H, subfield of K containing F, and containment is proper. If you take improper, then also it will work. And order is given by the order of subgroup. See here, this Galois extension is of 3 order, and the corresponding subgroup of Q omega is the 3 order subgroup. So this happens for this, and this happens arbitrarily. And another, we have a nice property. What can you say about this E over F? Whether this extension will be Galois? No, it need not to be Galois, because Q adjoint 2 power 1 by 3 is not Galois over Q. It is Galois if and only if your subgroup is normal. So this E over F need not to be Galois. So I cannot write this expression, but this is an extension. So its degree is given by the index of G over H, or index of H in G, that you can also verify. These are 2 degree extensions, and you can feel the subgroups are of order. Okay, 1 second. This E over F I am saying. So this is 3 degree extension, and subgroups are of 2 order, because this is 2 order, this is 2 order, this is 2 order. So their indices are 3. So this happens for this also. So this is a nice property. But when there is a natural question, when this E over F is a Galois. So this E over F is Galois if and only if your H is normal in G. So I am removing this first property. Third property, H is normal in G if and only if E over F is Galois extension. And you have seen the cardinality. So in this scenario, you can write order of your Galois group E over F. It will be index of H in G. Also, I can give you one more thing. The Galois group E over F is actually isomorphic to the quotient group G quotient H, and this is well defined because H is normal in G. So you can define G by H. So this is actually isomorphic to G by H. You can relate this diagram to this property. So this is another nice property. Property number 4. If E1 correspond to H1, E2 corresponding to H2, then E1 intersection E2 correspond to H1 comma H2 generates that subgroup. So if E1 is a fixed field by H, E2 is a fixed field by H2, then E1 intersection E2 is a fixed field correspond to the subgroup which is generated by H1 and H2. Another property, the smallest field containing an E1 and E2. So this is the field composition. This correspond to H1 intersection H2. The smallest field containing H1 containing E1 and E2 is the corresponding fixed field which is fixed by H1 intersection H2. So this property you can also feel. And let me see whether I have left with any property or I have written all. Okay, these are the properties. So here, if you understand this theorem, let me ask you one simple extension. Okay, not simple, but it will give you everything actually. If you understand this one, you understand everything. Fx is equal to x power 8 minus 2. This is defined over Qx. Clearly, this is an irreducible polynomial by using Eisenstein criteria. Give me the splitting field for this polynomial. And if you know the splitting field, give me the Galois extension, Galois group, give me the corresponding fixed fields, and relate that to the Galois, the fundamental theorem of Galois theory or Galois extension. If you are able to do this from my side, your everything will be clear. That means you can attempt every problem of Galois theory in your examination, which can be asked in NET exam, GATE exam, and some other examination related to NBHM and CMI also, because in TIFR they do not ask the question on Galois theory. So let me first fix the splitting field for this, then we will try to find Galois extension. But I must say, before seeing this explanation, you try to do by on your own. What are the roots of this? The roots will be 2 power 1 by 8, zeta 8 2 power 1 by 8, where zeta 8 is the 8th primitive root of unity, zeta 8 to the power 7 2 power 1 by 8. So this will have precisely 8 roots and all will be distinct over Q. Now if this is the roots, can I say this is the splitting field? Q adjoint 2 power 8 and zeta 8. Can I say this is the splitting field? If this is the splitting field, what can you say about the degree of this extension? See, if I adjoint zeta 8 and 2 power 1 by 8, then clearly it will contain every root. It will contain every root. But if you try to find the degree of this extension, you will have problem. Because if you write in this manner, suppose Q, from Q to you can go to 2 power Q adjoint 2 power 1 by 8. From here you can go to Q zeta 8, and the degree of this extension will be the degree of cyclotomic polynomial phi 8, that will be 4. The degree of here, it will be 8, because the minimal polynomial is x power 8 minus 2. From here to here you can go to Q 2 power 1 by 8 comma zeta 8. But you cannot give me the degree from here to here, because you cannot find the minimal polynomial of 2 power 1 by 8 over the field Q zeta 8. It is not easy. And same argument here, from here to here you cannot say, you cannot give me the degree, so you cannot use this criteria. You cannot say it is you cannot say this is 8. If it is 8, you will get order 32, but it is not 32 degree extension, it is actually 16 degree extension. So rather working with this, can I say this Q adjoint 2 power 8 comma iota Q 2 power 1 by 8 comma iota this is the splitting field. Can I say this? Okay, let me give you more criterias to think about. Can I say Q adjoint zeta 8 can be generated by Q adjoint root 2 and iota? Let's see the degree of Q adjoint iota over Q, it is 4 degree, because the degree of cyclotomic polynomial phi 8, the degree is 4, that is given by Euler phi function evaluated at 8. So from Q zeta 8 to, okay, not this, there is an extension, say Q square root 2 and iota, this is a 4 degree extension. So this is a vector space over Q of dimension 4, this is a vector space of over Q of dimension 4. If I say either this is a subset of this or this is a subset of this, then I am done. Clearly iota is contained in Q zeta 8, because this zeta 8 contains 8th primitive root of unity, but iota is a 4th primitive root of unity, and 4 divides 8, so iota must be a member of the group of 8th roots of unity. It must be a member. So this iota is contained in this, because if you do iota to the power 8, you will get 1, because iota to the power 4 is 1. So this is a member of this. Now what remains? This root 2. What can you say about the root 2, whether root 2 is a member of this or not? Let's observe pictorially. Can you draw for me this zeta 8 and all the group of 8th roots of unity on the complex plane? This will lie all on unit circle. say this is a unit circle, it is not so good, so please don't mind that. Suppose this is your 1, this is your minus 1. So say this is your zeta 8 to the power 8. You will have 8 elements, and you know that group of roots of unity forms a regular polygon. So you have 8th roots of unity, so it will form a polygon with 8 sides. So first, second, say this is iota, this is minus iota, and rest 4s will be here. Say it will be zeta 8. Zeta 8 will be given by, you can think as e power 2 pi I by 8. If you write in this manner, cos 2 pi I by 8 plus I sin 2 pi I by 8, you will have cos pi by 4 plus I sin pi by 4, but that will give you 1 plus iota by root 2. So if you see this zeta 8, this is 1 plus iota by root 2. No need to compare other roots, because once you know that this is the mirror image of this, so it will be minus 1 plus iota by root 2. So this will be your this is again the mirror image of this, so it will be minus 1 minus iota by root 2. If you know this, take the reflection about origin, you will have, or you take the mirror image of this with respect to x-axis, you will have 1 minus iota by root 2. So this is your zeta 8 to the power 8, this is zeta 8, this is zeta 8 cube, okay, not zeta 8 cube, okay, that we will write explicitly, do not mind for that. If you take zeta 8 square, it will be 1 minus 1 okay, it will be actually zeta 8 its square. This is zeta 8 square, this is zeta 8 cube, this is zeta 8 4, this is zeta 8 5, this is zeta 8 6, and this is zeta 8 7, this is zeta 8 power 8. So these are all 8th roots of unity which you can draw on unit circle. Now I want to show that this root 2 belongs to this q adjoint zeta 8, and q adjoint zeta 8 will contain every power of zeta 8. So can you find root 2 for me? See, this is zeta 8 power 7. If you add this one and this one, you will get root 2. So this root 2 can be written as zeta 8 plus zeta 8 power 7. So zeta 8 is a member, zeta 8 to the power 7 is a member. So root 2 must be a member of this. So you can say root 2 and iota, these are two members. So if these two are members, then the field adjoining root 2 comma iota, which is the smallest field, it must be contained in Q zeta 8. But this is a vector space of 4 dimension. This is a vector space of 4 dimension. अगर आप कोई भी finite dimensional vector space लो, उसका कोई भी subspace लो, if it has a same dimension, then both must be same. So this and this is same. So to generate Q adjoint zeta 8, you need Q root 2 and iota. But root 2 can be generated by 2 power 1 by 8. Root 2 can be generated by 2 power 1 by 8, because if 2 power 1 by 8 is there, then its 4th power will be there. Its 4th power will give you root 2. And iota can be generated by this zeta 8 root that you have felt. So this 2 adjoint 2 power 8 is there. Zeta 8 can be generated by root 2 and iota, but root 2 is always here. So these two are same extension. These are not different extensions. You can say every element over here, it is here. Because to generate zeta 8, you have root 2 and iota, both are there. To generate 2 power 8, which is already here. So this is contained in this. And reverse also occur, because iota, you can think this iota is a zeta 8 to the power 2. So iota is there. So this is contained in this. So these two are same. So you keep this unit circle in your mind. And now let's talk about the order of this Galois group, because it will be Galois, because we are working for the splitting field. So this will be a Galois group. So now you think this Q adjoint Q2 iota, from here to Q adjoint 2 power 1 by 8 to iota. From here you can go to Q zeta 8, and from Q zeta 8 to you can go here. This is a 4 degree extension and this is 2 degree extension. Okay, wait for a while, not this is not good. Let me take this to be 2 power 1 by 8. So this is 8 degree extension. From here to here it is 2 degree extension, from here to it is 8 degree extension. You can easily prove this. X to the power 8 minus 2 is irreducible over q iota structure. That you can prove. So hence this is a 16 degree structure. So its automorphism group will contain 16 elements. Can you give me those 16 elements explicitly? So this is your homework. We will be discussing in the next lecture. I will give you all the 16 elements.